What is going on, everyone? It's LFC Transfer Room here, and it's a Friday, so we thought we'd try something new and we'd have 5 people on at one go because yesterday Liverpool played a match and we scored 5 goals, so we've got 5 people. Makes common sense to me. Today I'm joined by Alex, Richie, Anthony, and Damon. Start with you, Alex, because we'll go around in rotation. How are you doing, mate?
I'm good, thanks, James. End of the week, so yeah, can't wait for the weekend, and just looking forward to next week's fixture now against Salzburg.
It's been an odd week, though, hasn't it, Richie? Because for me, Tuesday felt like Thursday, Thursday felt like Tuesday, and I think it's just because of the hot weather. I just got completely lost in the week. How's your week been?
Yeah, I'm glad we're not melting anymore, or going outside every time saying, "Oh, it's hot." So yeah, I'm glad that bit's over, but. Yeah, I mean, my week perfect because I work in a school. I'm a school teacher, so I'm now on 6 weeks holiday. So big shout out to all the teachers and support staff and everyone else who works in education. Enjoy your 6 weeks off because it's very, very thoroughly deserved. And to all the kids too, even if you don't deserve it, happy 6 weeks off.
Anthony, how's your week been? You've been unavailable this week, so it's good to have you back on the Friday. How are you doing, mate?
I mean, I've been ill for the past week, but yeah, it's good. Obviously the hot weather weren't great, but got a community shield final to look forward to next week. So yeah, things are looking good.
Damo, what do you think? Is that where your head's? Are your head at the community shield, or are you just looking forward to the next RB Salzburg match?
I'm just looking forward to football, to be honest, mate. It's just been a dry summer, on it. I'm not talking about the weather here, but I'm talking about the actual football. It's been mad without it. It's boring. To be honest, it's boring. TV's boring. Notes on. So it's just nice to even have friendlies back, and safe to say Darwin's arrived as well. So
Darwin has definitely arrived. However, I would say if you've not watched it, season 3 of The Boys is absolutely spectacular. Absolute amazing. The first episode of season 3 just haunts my dreams. And if anyone's seen it, they'll know what I'm talking about. If you've not, check it out. It's absolutely amazing. If you are new,
not to go too much into it, but like an absolute belter of a series the whole way through until the last half hour. And obviously it's a layup for the next season. But I was like, oh my God, this is like the best season. And then the last half hour was like a little bit deflating. But
I've not seen it. I've not got to the end yet.
Oh, good job I didn't spoil it then.
I've not got to the end yet.
Oh, James, let me know your view. Yeah, let me know your view because they're cracking. It gets better and better and then a little bit flat, but there's a reason for it. But yeah, that was fantastic viewing as well as Stranger Things as well. But listen, Fisher Mania is on tomorrow on Sky Sports. Do you know that? The great fishing match? No? Are we not that desperate?
Look at the blank face. Just because you've got 6 weeks off and you can fill it with whatever Fisher Mania you want, the rest of us have jobs. Need to keep the bills paying. Gas and electric's going up. If you are new here, please leave a like and a subscribe to the channel. Everything we do goes back into the channel. And, you know, for 5 goals, we've got 5 people on. We're going to look a little bit at last night. And, Alex, I'm going to start with you. It was a solid performance, but at the end of the day, it's pre-season, isn't it?
Yeah, it is only pre-season, but I'd say the biggest takeaway is we looked like we'd stepped the gears up 1 or 2. We looked back relatively to what you expect from a Liverpool side. Obviously, the United and Palace game, it's just, you know, getting minutes in the legs and, you know, getting fresh again, ready for the season. But I think yesterday was it was a big step forward in the preparations. And, yeah, loads of positives to take away from it. But for me, it just seeing everything, you know, 1 step quicker was the biggest takeaway.
Yeah, I was really impressed, Richie, with the way that we pressed Leipzig and we sort of kept them penned in, that sort of counter press. And I think they were architects of their own downfall at times, trying to play out from the back and roll it out. But it's nice to see us pressing and setting traps and being quite aggressive, isn't it?
Yeah, especially for Nunez' second goal, you know, the one from open play, the first one apart from the penalty. That's, you don't score 5 goals against Leipzig aren't a bad team. You don't score 5 goals without being good. You know, let's not forget they knocked Manchester United out of the Champions League a couple of seasons ago. So they are a good team, and you don't score 5 goals without being good and without that press. You know, I'm sure we'll go into it, but I thought Carvalho seems like he was a Liverpool player for 5 years. You know, he seems to have adapted to that press and found that space, his little header over the top to find that space as well. He looks like he's ready for Liverpool Football Club. So yeah, you don't score 5 goals without being good. And yes, it's pre-season. I think we've had probably a week's more preparation than Leipzig did too. So that obviously helps. We were saying that for Manchester United, they'd had, when they played us, a longer pre-season than what we had as well. So we have to be fair in that. But listen, I'm sure we'll mention it. It's just nice to see from all of the slander and all of the trolls on Twitter that Nunez just got 1 goal, let alone 4. But, you don't, going back to your original point, great press. And it does look like Liverpool maybe are now getting into second gear. There's a few players still yet to get there, but some of those players look like they're ready to go already.
Anthony, who do you think's ready then from watching it, that match? Because you were on the watch along with me, just chatting away. Who looks ready for the new season to you?
Like you said, I was on the watch along, so I don't really pay attention to a friend. He's not gonna lie, but I've seen the highlights, and you know what, with Nunez, I was thinking it's a bit like his goals weren't that impressive, but I had a think. I was thinking, you know what, they just strike a goal, so. Stuff like Cristiano Ronaldo, you'd see him score those sort of goals, and it's not that impressive, but it's what wins your matches at the end of the day. And obviously, we've not really had a typical striker since like Benteke or Dominic Solanke, so it's nice to have someone who can actually finish. Obviously, it's a new dynamic. Klopp's not really had that number 9. He's obviously always played with Firmino, Jota, and Mane last season. So it's nice to see sort of different style of play, and good to see Carvalho playing well as well. And I've got a question for everyone else. Do you think that's the 11 we played yesterday, besides Adrian? Do you think that's the 11 Klopp's going to start throughout the season? So he thinks that's his strongest 11.
I'm going to let Damo go straight in with that. Do you think that's the strongest 11 to start the first game of the season?
You know what? Probably. I do think it's the one. It tends to look in like he likes to play. I think we saw a little bit in against Man United, a little bit against Palace, but they want full squads. Well, they want full teams. It was like more of a mix. But yesterday, he sort of went, "I'm going strong here," and when he goes strong, it sort of means that's his first team. The guy who looks lively is Mohamed Salah. I don't know if he needed that. He needed that contract signing to give him that boost. But wow, he's looking sharp, and that is scary for the rest of the league, to be honest.
Yeah, I was saying it in the watch along. Actually, seeing him back into play, I didn't see him backing into players and using his strength in the second half of the season as much. Whereas yesterday, he was pressing, winning the ball back. That's how he got the first goal. Then he was backing into players, using his strength to play them around. He really dominated, didn't he, Alex?
Yeah, he had a really good duel for the first half of Halstenberg, I think it was. They were really going at it. He was doing really well, holding the ball up, spinning. A few Van Dijk trademark passes over the top for him as well. So he was getting the best of the defence most of the time, and he looked aggressive and game and up for it. So maybe that new contract and all the incentives come with it has got him excited and given a bit more juice for the season coming up, and I'd hope so as well.
Now, Anthony, you already know my opinion on this, but I haven't said it to everyone else. But my opinion is it should be Henderson over Keita. I think when Henderson came on at the start of the second half, he won the header that got us the penalty. He's the one that did the press that got us on the counter-attack. That led to Darwin Nunez' I think, best goal. I think we played a different style of play when Henderson came on because he filled the space on the right-hand side. Richie, for you, is it Keita or is it Henderson that starts that game? And it can't be Jude Bellingham.
No, obviously, no. Definitely, that's a no-go this summer. In fact, we should probably ban all Jude Bellingham talk as well because we get people too hopeful, including myself as well. So, I'm a Henderson fan. Yeah, Henderson for me. I think Keita, he could definitely do a job, but I just think that leadership from Henderson is there. And I'll never say anything bad about him. I think that he's an absolute workhorse. He wants everything for the team. He's the most selfless player ever. He can ping a pass. People forget his passing ability and his range of passing is sensational. There's a shout out there for Elliott as well. Obviously, he's done extremely well there in the past too. I just think who's going to be the sharpest on the day, because there's now a range of players, it looks like, who could fill that third spot. If we're saying Fabi and Thiago are nailed down, I'd think that Henderson would be in there, but Elliott could be in there, as well as Keita. I think it might be a bit too early yet for Jones. We've not really seen Jones too much, especially not in his pomp yet. So it'll be interesting to see who he plays there. But I think for security, you'd play Henderson. But who knows? If you want more attacking, you go Naby Keita, right?
Well, we scored more goals when Henderson came on, didn't we, Anthony?
Yeah.
So maybe we should be dropping Keita. I know you're a big Keita fan, so I just led it into you to sort of give us the pitch.
Mate, you know what, Henderson, I was on his back last season, and I'm still going to be on his back. I just don't understand what he brings. I know we could talk about leadership, but when you're a footballer, you know you're meant to bring footballing ability. I just don't. The defensive work from him, I think Keita proved, you know, he's got that in him, and he's far better than Henderson, attacking and defensively. So my issue is the midfielder obviously cost us a league last season, but I think Henderson's the weak link in there. He started most matches, and there's a reason Keita didn't lose a single match he started as well last season. And I know, like Richie said, he brings leadership, which is obviously good. I'm not saying get rid of him, but he shouldn't be starting for us. And the shouts for Milner as well. He shouldn't be starting for us either. And I think it'll be good to see youth. I'm not saying Keita is now done started, by the way, but it'll be good to see Elliott given some minutes. Obviously, he played well beginning of last season, and same with Curtis Jones. I think he showed he's more than good enough to start for us, but maybe not regularly. Obviously, consistency is a problem, but yeah, I'm sick of Henderson and starting Naby Keita ahead of him.
Damo, we'll let you be the judge on this one, the final judge, jury, and executioner. Right central midfielder. I'm not including Jones in this because he plays on the left-hand side. I see him more as a Thiago backup. So you've got Elliott, you've got Keita, you've got Henderson. First game of the season, it sets the tone for the entire year. You've got Milner. Who are you putting in? You're the final say on this.
Don't mention Milner. We've got to look at who we're against here. We're against Fulham. And we can go for 4, 5 goals, 6 goals against these. So we need to go a bit more attacking. We need to make a statement on that first game. We need to be. We don't need to be top of the league, but it'd be nice to be top of the league, just to sort of like an early sort of mental edge. And I think playing Henderson sort of is too defensive for me in that sort of game against Fulham. They're there for the taking, I think, and we need to go out. Whether it be Keita or Elliott, it'd be them two for me. I think they're there for the taking for them, and we need someone a bit more attacking minded. And like we've been saying about the clock formation change, if he goes to number 10, we need to get used to that attacking player anyway. We'll see. He could even play a 10 in that game, but he hasn't really been trying it out, has he? In the last 3 games, so it's all been talked. So yeah, I would go personally Elliott if I'd edge it.
So I
think Elliott would be a great shout, to be fair. But listen, going back to Keita really quick. You know, Keita had 1 assist last season, Henderson had 5. We'll just lay that there.
He starts more though, like
per 90, you know, Henderson is better ratio as well.
No. Per 90 defensively, Henderson gets caught out so much. And you look at matches like the big matches, we didn't win a single big match last season. Henderson started in. I'm not saying Keita is the best midfielder in the world, but he's better than Henderson. And we see it time and time again. The matches we lose is because the midfield's rubbish, and Henderson's a key figure in that midfield for someone who's supposedly got this leadership and passion in a sense. It looks lost at times, and he's at fault for it. I know I keep nitpicking at him, but I just think that we've got better quality, and we saw it against Man City in the FA Cup semi-final, where who else bosses a Man City midfield to get Thiago, Fabinho, and Keita were unbelievable that day, and that was one time I think all season where we could say the midfield had a solid performance and were better than such a top team, and that was the first time we beat a top 4 team all season. And obviously we drew the cup finals to Chelsea, and look at the Champions League final. I know I'm going on a bit of a rant here, sorry, but like the midfield, it just doesn't create anything. And you look at Keita, he's always getting in the box. I know he missed that chance in the final, but it wasn't like.
Yeah, I was going to say Keita's that went into Rosette in the final was like inspiring as well.
No.
Henderson tries that all the time.
The debate room's coming on this, don't you? I think at some point we need to get Richie and Anthony, give them a bit of time to do a bit of research and really sort of come at it as a clash. And let us know in the chat, do you want a Keita versus Henderson debate room, Anthony versus Richie, no holds barred, fight to the finish, first game of the season? tables, ladders, and chairs debate room.
Ironically, I agree with Damo. I think Elliot should probably start. Ironically, I think that Elliot. I don't think either of them should start. I think if Elliot carries on the way he's been going in pre-season, then it's Harvey Elliott's all day long.
And Alex, one of the things no one's talking about is Konate just starting a right back. Matip was number one choice next to Van Dijk all season, but we're all accepting now it's Konate's time, because that error he did against Nkunku, where it came off his heel, against the Premier League team, that probably goes in the back of the net at full pace, and it had made it 2-1 at that point. So are we all in on Konate starting here?
I am, to be honest. Yeah, I think he has an edge of Van Dijk about him with his recovery for balls, and he allows Van Dijk to sort of not play make, but just not like overdo things. He's so good at ball recovery. Once we're on the defense, I think that the touch yesterday, I'd just put it down to pre-season being pre-season. It was just a bit mistimed, really, wasn't it? But in terms of it was in the Premier League, I think Nkunku, who had the shot, he probably is a Premier League standard player, and it is pre-season after all. But for me, them things happen. Everyone makes mistakes. Van Dijk even does once or twice a season. But yeah, I think with them too, it's just personal preference. But my personal preference in this scenario would be Konate.
Is anyone team Matip, or is everyone ready for Konate to step up? Looks undecided.
I don't mind, to be fair. I like Matip. Obviously, he's had his injury problems, but last season he was brilliant as well. I think some people are saying he's better than Van Dijk, so I don't think anyone really have like a huge issue with whoever's starting either Matip or Konate. Obviously, Champions League final, Konate was unbelievable as well, so he's proved it on the big occasion. And even Gomez, I don't think anyone would mind. Maybe not as much as Konate or Matip, but he needs to get some minutes as well. And we've already seen what he could do in the Liverpool shirt.
But Richie, Damo made a great point earlier, which is first games against Fulham. And what we need to do is we need to lay a marker down. Now, what Matip does that Konate needs to learn is Matip drives in from defence into midfield, pushing towards the attack. He creates space. He draws players out. So if we're really trying to hurt a team, could the argument not be that actually the more offensive defender is Matip?
Yeah, absolutely. No one dribbles like Joel Matip, not even Leo Messi. I heard that Messi phones at Matip for dribbling tips. So, he is brilliant, especially when you're looking for, let's say, if you are playing, a pretty, not defensive midfield, but someone who doesn't have that drive from midfield. Matip steps into that midfield almost and pulls out those players. So, I think Konate might be there. I mean, you got Van Dijk as well, but Mitrovic is going to be, Fulham's main threat, isn't he? Let's be honest. So, Konate's power would be matched with Mitrovic, no doubt. And I'm not saying that Joel Matip is not powerful, because he absolutely is. But yeah, I think a lot depends on pre-season. I agree with Anthony. I think it doesn't matter who plays. You could play Gomez there as well. I would be happy with any of them, absolutely any of them, to partner Van Dijk, because those four defenders, surely Liverpool have the best four centre-backs in the league, you would imagine. With those four central defenders, I'd struggle to think of a defence, even if Chelsea got Koundé like they're supposed to be doing today, and Koulibaly and Thiago Silva. I still think that's a massive drop-off from the four that we've got. So the centre-back pairing would be really, really important. And I'd love to see them all get rotated in. And hopefully the future is Gomez and obviously Konate at centre-back. And if that's the way Liverpool going for the next 5 years, I think we're going to have a very sturdy defence with Robbo and Trent as well on the flank. So I don't think it matters who you play too much, but I really like your take, James, that if you're going to play a little bit more offensive in the middle of the park, Matip is that person to step in and dribble like he's Maradona.
Now, Demo, I don't know if you remember, we did a stream of unpopular opinions. It might have been the last time that we were on. And one of them, I don't know if it was you, I don't know if it was Owen, was Costa should start over Robbo, because Robbo had a really tough end to the season. He looked to be gassed out, to be honest, and Costa came in really strong. So everyone, again, is just Robbo. It's the Liverpool way. We've got this set up and stuff like that. Was it you who had that opinion? Was that the unpopular opinion?
I said he could take over in the season if all depended on Robbo, really. I think if he carries on the way he did last season, then why not? Why not Costas? Because he just wasn't the same, was he? He wasn't the same Robbo that we're used to seeing for the last 3-4 years, and he is the best left back in the world. No denying that at all. But you can't drop off with competition behind you. This is why a backup for Salah would be perfect, because if Salah drops off, then we've got someone there to take in, to come in, and Robbo can't do that, because if he drops off, as soon as he drops off, that's it. He's out of the team, and he knows that, and that's what giving that kick up the backside when Costas first came in. But let's hope he gets refreshed this season. I think Robbo is the main starter. Let's see how it goes for the first few weeks. I mean, 3 easy games. What, Fulham? You got Man United on third game, so 3 easy games. So yeah, let Robbo play anyone at left back. Bring Jimmy Traore back if you have to against United. It doesn't really matter.
The Jimmy Traore Cruyff turn. I mean, we're gonna move on to Matheus Nunes, because obviously, you know, the title is Nunez to Nunez, and obviously we had a big debate about who starts in central midfield. Now, one of the things about Matheus Nunes is he's probably more a left-sided central midfielder than he is a right-sided central midfielder, but that's not to say he can't play there. I'm going to start, Anthony. I'm just going to throw this graphic up over us all. This is the touch map of Matheus Nunes in Premier League in 21-22, and as you can see, he gets everywhere. So to say he's just a left-sided central midfielder, well, it looks to me like he's comfortable to play everywhere. So reports seem to be coming from Portugal first, with British media denying it, but it's the same sort of pattern of Diaz sort of rumours and how that started. So we've not written it off as it's not going to happen yet, but with a touch map like that, that could solve a lot of midfield problems, couldn't it?
Definitely. I mean, I think the midfield sort of lacks a presence anyway in that right central midfield spot. I promise I'm not trying to just be horrible to Henson, but just in general, I think you see in matches sometimes our midfield kind of gets a bit overrun and it feels like there's no one there. That's same for Thiago. Sometimes he kind of can get past him easily, but obviously I've not seen the Portuguese league. I don't really watch who's he played for, Lisbon or Sporting Lisbon. Yeah, so I can't have that much of an opinion, but I think it looks like he brings some sort of a presence to the midfield, so which is what we lack. So it'll be good to sign him. I think the quality in depth is what we lacked last season rather than the actual numbers in depth. Obviously, we've got Chamberlain, Jones, Elliott, whatever. So to have actual quality players in that midfield, it'll definitely help us to lift the league and maybe even Champions League next season. But yeah, I'm a bit 50-50 on it. I'm still holding out for Bellingham next season.
Now, Alex, I'm going to bring up this one for you, which is obviously how he plays in a bit of a map like that. But one of the things that stands out to me, progressive runs, dribble attempted. This is something that Liverpool midfielders are not massively known for. 4 dribbles per game. He's really high on progressive runs and sort of driving the ball forward from midfield. It was everything it was everything Oxlade-Chamberlain promised to be. And unfortunately, due to serious injury, he just couldn't get there, could he? So, again, solves a problem that we need in midfield that we were talking about, that progressive run carrying with the ball. What do you think?
Yeah, he looks brave. He looks really brave with the numbers he's put up there. I think Thiago would put up similar, but obviously from way deeper. So you can't really compare something like that with the progressive runs. But yeah, someone who can get at the throat of a back line from midfield is something that I think a lot of Liverpool supporters think we lack. It's what we constantly look sort of for. Say if something doesn't really go right or we're struggling to create. Constant callbacks to Coutinho, etc., like that. But I think Klopp is sort of holding out on player development to see if someone like Jones or Elliott or Carvalho will bring that, or try and match those numbers this year. But in terms of an improvement as of right now, I think him coming in with them numbers, it would certainly bring something, instantly in terms of penetrating a midfield and a defence, which you could argue that Liverpool do actually lack.
Yeah, I mean, teams who play a low block, Richie, that's our Achilles heel, isn't it? Those 2 banks of 4 that we can't do anything against, and we look here at another one, minutes played per position. We can see obviously left central midfield, right central midfield, but he seems to be progressing into the areas where he would give Salah space, he would give Diaz space. He seems to come back and link the play, driving forward with the ball. When you've got a team doing a low block and just trying to block us out for 90 minutes like what Everton tried to do against us. Someone just running at you. Again, it creates space. We're not relying on Joel Matip, are we?
No. And again, it was what we thought Keita would perhaps be as well. That's who I thought would come in and be that dynamism in midfield. And again, we've seen it on occasion. And I was a massive Keita fan, still am. Hope he signs an extension, if not just to hold his value. But do we need a Nunez now? I personally don't think so. Now, we touted about 45 million. I would rather, and again, listen, no one knows what's going to happen with he who shall not be named next season, because Madrid will be in there and City will be in there as well. And it might just be a bidding war, but, anything can happen between now and next season. Yes, we could go out and get Nunez this season and still go, for Jude next season, but would be quite overrun in midfield. I think the issue why we didn't want or can't get in a midfielder at the moment is because we are actually pretty stacked in that position. I think people were perhaps thinking that Ox would go for more minutes. Now he's done his hammy. Doesn't look like it. Elliott and Jones are certainly not going anywhere. Carvalho's only just come in if he's going to play midfield. I know he has been playing in the wings, but predominantly was a 10 for Fulham. Then you've got the likes of Milner, Thiago, Fabinho, Henderson, Keita. So we are pretty stacked actually for a 3-man midfield, especially if we're talking about going to a 2-man pivot with a 10, a Bobby or a Jones or a Carvalho playing as a 10 or even an Elliott. So I don't think there's a need for Nunez now. I think it might be a nice signing for us. But I don't know. Maybe I'm being naive. Maybe I'm just being a little bit too naive, because I wouldn't want to see the minutes taken away from Elliott or Carvalho or even Jones at the minute for a Nunez who, 23 years old, is going to come in at 45 million, maybe even more than that. It's just not for me. I just don't feel it. I don't know why. I just don't feel that it's a signing that we need right now. And we know that, we know what Liverpool are like. They're not going to splash money just for splashing money's sake. Just because the fan base says, oh, we need a midfielder. We needed a striker apparently last season, but we didn't go out and get one until this season. Klopp was happy to wait for somebody to come through. So again, I think that's the same case for the midfield. It's one that if it happens, okay, cool. And if it doesn't happen, I'm actually quite cool with that too.
Demo, I'm looking at it a bit like, the way I'm treating it, it's a bit like maths. Nobody wants Ronaldo. Ronaldo can't go to any of these clubs or anything like that. So he wants to go to Sporting because they play in the Champions League, unlike United. So they need to be able to pay him a big wage. Now, selling a star for 30 million means that you can pay Ronaldo, doesn't it? Or is that just too simplistic a view?
You'd see it like that. Usually transfers in the window usually have a domino effect anyway. So normally, say like Barcelona, let Frankie de Jong go to Man United, then Man United let Ronaldo go, we get Nunez. It does work like that most of the time. There's transfers with around Europe, especially Barcelona this year. I mean, they're just having everyone on strings at the moment. But regarding the midfield that we have now, we have stacked midfielders, but we have 8 with a few 4 out of 10s, and I don't want 4 out of 10s. And if you're going to go down the mass route, I'd rather have 4 number 10, 4 out of 10s. Say 3 of them 4 out of 10s. That's 12 out of 30. I'd rather have 2 8 out of 10s. That makes it 16 out of 30, 8 out of 20. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to go down the mass route, I'd do that way, because we don't have any quality in the midfield away. Let's be honest. Apart from Thiago, Fabinho, and then
apart from
two. You know what I'm saying? But
apart from 2 of the best midfielders in the world,
they're not going to be there every week. Henderson's dropping off. Keita's injury prone. Milner, I don't know why we've sat. People are saying, but we've got too many players there. But why have we got too many players there? It's the club
no one else wants
them. There's no way no one wants Ox. There's no way. Whether it's injury prone or not.
Who with their right mind would go out and buy Ox?
Lallana lives in the hospital. He went to Brighton. People want these players. People will take these players. I'm telling you that now. Leeds will take Milner back. We've decided to keep Milner on another season. We've decided to keep Ox. We've not gone out there. Please, someone take Ox. Please, someone take Ox. And they've gone, no, thank you. There's players.
Yeah, I think that's like. But Klopp wouldn't go out there with that. Klopp would never force everyone out the door, I don't think. And there's obviously been a conversation there. Millie has I think his minutes will continue to go down, if I'm honest. I think he knows that he's going to be more of a cameo player, but he's obviously there for the dressing room, isn't he? He's such a leader, and he's taken the youngsters on, like perhaps Carvalho, Elliott, and Jones, who are the future. So I don't think again, I might be wrong, but I don't think he will play as many minutes as he even did last season. I don't think that's a bad thing. He's obviously taken, almost that Adrian role. Adrian's not going to play every single minute under the sun either, but he's good for the youngsters coming through. And I think that's what Klopp wants. He wants that team around him that's building up the next generation of these Liverpool stars. With Ox, it looked like he probably would have been out the door. I think he was 2-1 at one point to sign for Leicester or Villa. But then when the hamstring injury happened, no club in their right mind is going to sign anyone on a hamstring injury. Like, that is just not going to happen. So, like it or not, we are stuck with him. Same with Keita. Are Liverpool going to cash in on Keita? How much would you pay for Naby Keita right now, thinking about it? He's got a year left on his contract. Liverpool aren't going to sell someone for 20 million, 15 million when they can't bring in someone of his quality. So they are in a sticky situation because none of these... Henderson's obviously not going anywhere, and rightly so. So these fringe players, they're not going to go anywhere because we're A, not going to get the money for it, and B, Klopp doesn't seem to want them to go.
I think regarding the Milner situation, I think Ederson should be stepped into that role where he takes a back step.
I think both of them do. I think he probably will.
But we ain't got that. We ain't got that quality to really replace. I know we've got Elliott that can come in, but we can't really put too much pressure on the youngsters that way. We shouldn't be doing that. I think we should give them chance to come in and out of the team whenever they needed to. Really, Elliott playing every season. I'd love Elliott to come in and say, "Look, I could play every week," because I think he's better than Nelson. I think he's better than Keita. I think he's got his ceiling so high, it's ridiculous. But he's a youngster, and we've seen that with Arsenal. I mean, Arsenal at times were brilliant, absolutely brilliant, but that consistency every single week, they couldn't do it because they relied on youngsters, and we can't do that to our youngsters. We don't want that to happen. That's why I think getting rid of someone like Ox or I don't want to really get rid of Naby as much as Ox and Milner, but get rid of those two and bringing in someone like Nunez gives that option of bringing Elliott in and then bringing him out and then bringing in Jones and bringing him out, but without losing the quality. So I think Ederson's going downhill, and I don't want to see it.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying regarding that. Just like, I just don't... Klopp obviously wants Milner. Otherwise, he wouldn't have had that contract extension. So Klopp obviously wants Milner there. And yes, West Ham might have been interested in Oxlade-Chamberlain, but with a hamstring injury, they're certainly not interested now. So I don't think those players are going anywhere.
Just before we move on to the next bit, just Helios put it in chat. Obviously, David Moore, former Liverpool owner, died at the age of 76. Just, I think, a week after his wife's death, which is, really sad that a former Liverpool owner's passed away. Just, you'll never walk alone. It's nice that there's an outpouring of support from the club and from senior figures. Obviously, it's a real shame. But just to sort of acknowledge that with Helio putting it in chat. So rest in peace, David Moore, from obviously everyone at the Liverpool transfer team. It's sad news. Alex, I'm going to move on. One of the things Damo said, though, and just moving on from the David Moore story, is you can't put too much pressure on the youngsters. Now, Liverpool are a top 1% club in world football, and we should be trying to win everything. And they should be trying to get to a stage where they've nailed down a starting spot. In that midfield, we've probably got 4, if you want to include Tyler Morton, really exciting up-and-coming midfielders in Harvey Elliott, Carvalho, Curtis Jones, Tyler Morton, and whoever this, I can't pronounce his name, Bajcetic that came on yesterday, someone will tell me how to pronounce it, he was outstreet. Who do you think's got to prove themselves this year? Who do you think's got to take that step up?
I have my money on Carvalho, I think, from yesterday. To be honest, his overall performance impressed me more than maybe Nunez yesterday. He was that good. His cushion header, his first touch over the defender.
Just left him for dead as well, didn't he?
He's delightful. He's honestly a delightful player. And I think that season in the Championship for him, playing, that's a tough league. That's a snake pit of a league. It really is. So going there at such a young age, you sort of gain so much maturity from that despite being so young. But I do agree with what...
Carvalho to come through, who do you think's got to do something? Otherwise, that they might be moved on, because all four of them aren't going to make it.
I wouldn't say moved on, but I think maybe Curtis Jones is the one who he's sort of he's a bit slower on his development journey as of right now. I think this season, the fact that we probably aren't gonna sign a midfielder, it's gonna give the three of them, maybe Carvalho, Jones, and Elliott, a chance to get more minutes and show what we can do, and maybe try and settle into a position on a rotation or permanent basis. But I do agree with what Damo was saying before. It's quite an unfair thing to do if it doesn't go right. It is a lot of pressure for youngsters, but you are playing for Liverpool, and I also do agree with what Richie was saying, where if the right transfer isn't out there, then do just play the younger players and give them a chance to develop. Klopp he's an expert at developing players. I think people are quick to forget that. So I think Jones, going back to the point, is the one who he should have a chip on his shoulder going into this season. But I think Carvalho is the one who he's gonna set the world alight, I think.
Richie, same question to you. Who do you think is going to set the world on fire? Who do you think's got a point to prove, and what do they need to do to prove it?
I think Harvey Elliott for me would be the pick. He looked well on his way before that unfortunate injury against Leeds last season. I think he was one of our better players towards the start of the season. So I think he will pick up where he's left off with another pre-season under Klopp. I think Carvalho yesterday looked phenomenal, and he looks like an absolute talent. He really does. Tyler Morton's supposed to apparently go into Blackburn Rovers on loan, and that worked out well for Elliott. And if he goes there, it's a great club to go to. Where you look at some loan signings and you think, yes, that's the place where you should go to develop. And I think Tyler Morton, if he's going to get game time there, could develop into a sensational six in the future. And yeah, absolutely agree. Curtis Jones, not so long ago, about 2 years ago, I wrote an article for LFC Transfer Room. And it was titled "The Prince of Merseyside?" ? And it was after Curtis Jones had that purple patch, and he looked like he was going to go on to conquer the world. And then that progression it slowly just came to a bit of a plateau. And then we saw the emergence of Harvey Elliott, who now looks to have overtaken him in the pecking order. And let's be honest, Carvalho's performance yesterday would suggest that he's perhaps overtaken him too. So it looks like he's got a big season, along with Naby Keita, Oxlade-Chamberlain as well, even perhaps Jordan Henderson in that midfield, because it's going to be all up in the air in the summer. Thiago's not getting any younger. Fabi is in his prime for the next 3 or 4 years, I would hope, as well. So that midfield is the next part where Klopp is probably going to reinvent. He started with the defence, he's now gone to the attack, and obviously now that midfield looks like his next piece of the jigsaw. Football is evolutionary, but for me, I'd go Harvey Elliott.
I think you made a really good point. Sometimes you can see a loan move's just done for some money, like just to get them out the door, get them paid, get some money through the door. And sometimes you see them go to a club and you think, oh, actually, yeah, that looks like it'd be a good fit. And I'm with you on the Tyler Morton one. I think the Reece Williams to Blackpool one is just, let's get a bit of cash, because let's face it, the guy's slow and he's never going to make it. Anthony, for you, player who really has got to prove a point, and the player that you think is going to break through from our young midfield this season?
I think everyone's already been said, to be fair. Just the entire midfield, okay, obviously, he's great last season, and this season, I think if he starts regularly instead of Henderson and Milner, then he can really prove that. And same with Elliott, obviously got injured earlier on in the season when he was looking good. And Jones especially, I think the problem with Jones is he's too, he's already gone past the point where he needs to be starting cup matches. I'm not saying for us, but just in general, obviously it's good to have that depth of quality. Whenever you do watch the cup matches, it looks like he's better than everyone else. He doesn't really belong there when it's meant to be for the more youth players like Cade Gordon to show their potential. And I just don't think he's cut out at the moment. But I like Curtis Jones. I think he's got the whole package, but maybe he could work on defensive work and consistency. And same with Harvey Elliott and Carvalho. I think attacking wise, they look unbelievable. And I've not seen much of Carvalho, but for someone who got young player of the season in Championship last season, it's not something that we should what's the phrase? Look lightly on. But yeah. You know what? We can't really complain. We got good options in that midfield for next season. But one more midfielder probably would have been nice, but I think we got good options all around the whole squad.
I think that's what I've always found with Curtis Jones. Like, and I think you summarised it great. When we're in cup matches, he really stamps his authority on the match. You know, when he's surrounded by players that aren't as good as him, he really runs that show. But I think where he's not in that position, like when he comes into the Premier League 11, Damo, he just doesn't seem to have that same arrogance on the ball. Is it a confidence thing or is it just an ability thing? What do you think?
It feels out of place, doesn't it? It feels out of place. I think that's why everyone gets excited about him because of his cup performances. You know, Minamino looked amazing in the cup. You know, he looked like prime Ronaldinho in the cup. Did Minamino's, but when he came to the league, he couldn't hack it. Is it down to ability? I think he's got ability, but I don't think he's the level Liverpool need as a starter. I don't think he ever will be. You know, I'd love to ask you guys a question. You know, how would he be rated from Liverpool fans if he wasn't Scouser?
I think there's more pressure on him because he's Scouse. I don't think he would come under as much like criticism if he wasn't Scouse. I think if he was born in the Midlands, then people would say, "Oh, he's got a bright future." I think because he hit the ground running, that had that goal against Everton. Let's forget, like he was really good. You know, in that first like breakout season, that it looked like I thought, well, we've got it, we've cracked it. There's your next Steven Gerrard, etc. As I think most of us thought. Yeah,
everyone got on the hype, didn't they? Thought, oh, yeah, wow, you know, young lad like Scouser. He thought, you know, Gerrard all over, Gerrard version 2.0, and it wasn't fair on terms of that sort of. But that's what you're gonna get if you know you're Scouser, you're buying Liverpool, you score a goal like that against Everton in your local rivals. You're gonna get tagged with Steven Gerrard. Jordan Henson got tagged with Steven Gerrard when he took over captaincy. You're gonna get that naturally, but I still don't think he's going to be at the level that Liverpool deserve. In a way,
I would love to.
He'll be a brilliant squad player, but not as a first teamer.
I'd love to actually sit him down and say, because he came through the academy and through the youth development really on the left flank, and obviously we're asking him to play the left side of midfield. Is he even comfortable there? We've seen him as the 6. That's obviously you know, it doesn't seem to me that's his natural position. He looks like he's a player who wants to go past people or you know, make those progressive runs. Is midfield even his natural area? I know that Elliot obviously was out wide. It's a
development area for him, isn't it? Because he's not quick enough to be a winger. No, he's not quick enough to be on our left wing, so he needs to be redeveloped.
He's like a left midfielder back in the day when they played 4-4-2. I'd sort of put him in that sort of category. But these days, you need to be like as being a winger these days, so it's completely different.
Yeah, it's difficult for Jones because, like I said, he's always come through the ranks as an attacker, and I think he's been asked to play that genie role, almost like that transition master, to sometimes get forward and sometimes get back and make the right pass. And he's not quite releasing it, you know, he's not releasing it early enough, but he does in the cup because maybe there's less pressure on him. Maybe he's like in his head, the league is like, okay, well, don't want to make the wrong pass, so then he doesn't make the pass. We saw Carvalho yesterday make that beautifully weighted pass after the cushioned header to Nunez, who obviously 1 foot finish in the net. That's what you'd want to see Jones doing, is that knowing when to release it at the right time, not holding on for it for too long. That, but I'm going to butcher his name too, James, so don't do yourself in too much. Bajadic. He, if you looked at his performance yesterday, he was actually really pressed in his own box, and he just pinged it out to the left, who then pinged it back to him in centre midfield and pinged it straight up the box. That's what you'd want Jones to do. He knew at 17 years old where everybody was on that pitch with his back away from them, with pressure coming on, he's facing his own goal. It could have been easy for him to roll it back to the goalkeeper, but he didn't. He found the space and he popped it. And Jones doesn't quite have that in the league. And I don't know if that's a mental block or not, because he certainly has it in the cups.
You know what? Just touching on that as well. It's sort of the opposite what you were just saying. He used to be able to cope with the pressure, but look at the Champions League. Was it against Porto away where he got three or four assists? Like, how can you just turn up in matches like that and then the next match you're just not doing anything? It's just random for him. I think he suits sort of the smaller matches, so like the cup matches and sort of relegation fodder, because he can stand out there. He's playing against people who won't be able to sort of get the ball off him, because obviously he's good with his feet. And even against Arsenal, he looked unbelievable. And was it second leg at the Emirates, the League Cup? Like, how are you putting in these performances and then the next match you look like I don't know, like I don't want to pick on any midfielders in our team, but just average player.
I just want to say Henderson.
Pick on someone else. Scott McTominay or Fred. Do other teams. You don't have to as.
Alex, for me, I think it comes down to something really simple, which is Curtis Jones doesn't have a nailed down place. He knows he's going to play in the cup, so he's confident. This is my game. I'm not going to get dropped for this. And he doesn't. I think he just needs a bit more professional arrogance and belief in his own ability. I should be there, get a run in the team. I think he might be able to finally nail it down. But he's not going to overtake Thiago, is he? So cups is his game.
I think my theory with him is when this Liverpool team, such a systematic team, when he's got a big game and it's a 3-man midfield, I think he lets the task sort of, overtake him, and the task of what he needs to do in the midfield, and like that sort of shuts off his natural game, which is getting the ball, carrying it, and trying to take people on. Whether that's too much pressure for him, I don't know. I wouldn't say it is. I just think perhaps he does overthink it. I think the gap between someone like Jones and Thiago, it's huge, really, to sort of bridge. But that's where you've got to sort of trust Klopp this year with developing a player like Jones into something, a bit better than what he is now. But yeah, for Jones and me, I don't know where else I'd rather have him. Maybe in a 10 if we do go to a double pivot. But I think because this Liverpool team, it's so demanding, I think maybe he thinks too much about what he has to do in that game, and it just overrides his thoughts, and his ability sort of goes to the back of his head.
Well, we're going to pretty much wrap it up there with Alex. If you are new here, please leave a like and a subscribe on the video. All the videos that we do, all the money we generate goes straight back into the channel. Your likes and your subscribe, it's a simple one click, and it means the world to us, and it helps us make more videos and more content for you. I think we've pretty much come to the summary that we don't need Nunez, but we're not going to look at a gift horse in the mouth if he comes available, because he could do something in our midfield we don't have. But we've got some really exciting players who could really help us take a step forward in the league next year. We're not overexcited about Nunez's hat trick, but at the end of the day, everyone was hating, and he shut the haters up so that he can go into the Premier League with a confident strike. We pretty much nailed the starting 11 against Fulham. This has been LFC Transfer Room. Thank you very much to Damo, Alex, Richie, and Anthony. A 5-man Friday for 5 goals against Leipzig. We will catch you on the next one. Take care.